Hey everybody, welcome to comics class. My name is Brandon Pallas and I'm here to teach you everything I know about drawing comics. Today we are moving on from the Simplified Anatomy series into something that is still kind of anatomy, but also kind of different. We're going to be moving into the head, hands, and feet series. I consider this a different thing than just basic anatomy because when we were doing anatomy, it was more or less just mapping muscles onto basic body structures. And the head, hands, and feet are a little different from that. They're a lot more influenced by bony structures. There's not as much there are muscles involved, but a lot of the time we don't even really bother to learn excuse me, the specific muscles that much. It's a lot more about learning the bone structure, um, and the just kind of specifics of these body parts that are very expressive, that are very detailed. And in the case of the head and the hands, especially, that we know better than almost anything. So we really have to get them right. Uh, so I just feel like it warrants a different kind of study than the rest of the anatomy that we've been doing. So today we're going to do the head. Um, there's only so much we can cover in one session. The head is an extremely complex subject. I'll probably come back to it later on and do more in depth, but I'll show you the basics of how I approach the head in drawing. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into the warm-ups. So we'll start with some basic, as always, just some basic S-curves. So here we go. Or, well, I guess a lot of times we start with the C curves, but whatever. We're going to do S curves today. And you guys, let me see. Let me get these streams up. A lot of people streaming today. That's cool. Alrighty. So yeah, we'll start with just a bunch of S curves. Just get your hand loose. Um, vary the direction. Vary the I don't know, the tightness. Have some long stretched out ones. You can do ones that are barely even a curve. It's like just a almost a straight line with a little bit of swing to it. Or you can do really tight ones that are very much like the letter S. I find that, believe it or not, the one going the regular letter S way is a lot easier to draw than the backward one. We get so much more practice with that, but as always, it's good to just work with all of these different um, orientations and different styles. These are super fundamental lines. They're going to show up everywhere. So the more command we have of it, the better off we're going to be. And I'm just kind of throwing them in randomly today. This is not a beautiful and organized sort of workspace. And it really doesn't matter. This is essentially, this is garbage work. We don't need to keep it. It doesn't need to look beautiful. It's just practice to develop our hand. All right, so that probably is good for that. Let's go ahead on to some C curves. And I don't want to spend too much time on these today because we got some other warm up and like kind of fundamental form drawing stuff that I want to deal with. So just, C curves. Sometimes it's fun. I like to kind of make them relate to each other so that they're like kind of following like a pattern from one to the next. These ones are kind of like curving inward around sort of a central point. All right, just a few more, some long ones. And And maybe some short, tight ones. A couple of different directions on those. I'll go up instead of down. All right, and that ought to do it. So the next exercise I want to do, since we're doing the head today, this is going to be super, super relevant for the head. Let's just draw egg shapes, just basic kind of ellipses, and then put that plus on it. This is, I'm sure you've all seen this. This is kind of the standard way that everyone will teach you to draw heads. Put those rubber bands around it, make like a kind of a plus sign on the front. Make sure they wrap around the edges. You can vary up the these ellipses. Some of them can be more like circles. Some of them can be much longer and more stretched out. You know, this is going to give you variety in the kind of heads that you draw. And then the next thing I want to do is, in addition to that plus, we're going to do an X. You guys have probably seen me do this. This is the way I like to do faces. And this is one thing that I've never really seen anyone else do. This is, if I may say so, I think this is kind of a innovation of my own. I'm sure someone else is doing it somewhere, but I kind of had to figure this out on my own. And I'll show you soon, like how this works, why this is valuable. So let's just keep drawing these egg shapes, these ellipses, and putting this plus and this X on them. And vary up the angles too. Like try to like tilt it down, tilt it up, and try to really get a good wrap around it. Keep that form. Make it look really dimensional. When I'm actually drawing faces, I don't really put a lot of energy into getting these lines right the first time. What I'll usually end up doing is throwing in a couple of them. Like I'll put one in. I'll show you. Okay, so there's a plus. But like, let's say I feel like this vertical line came out a little too far to the right. So then I'll just kind of balance it out. And the way I'm thinking about this isn't the new line that we're using. Like the new line would be kind of implied somewhere in between these two, you know, so it's kind of just balancing it on the other side. And then I'll put that X in, and sometimes that won't be quite right. So I'll do the same thing. I'll just kind of back and forth, balance it. And then all of these lines together will kind of combine to form a sense of where the right positions are. You guys don't need to do it that way. You know, it's what works for me. Personally, I don't like really being super specific with my lines when I'm sketching. I like to just kind of go fast and throw it down and adjust as I go. So you'll see me do that a lot. Like, okay, this came out kind of too far over, so I'm gonna just kind of massage that into shape a little bit. So we'll spend a little bit of time doing this because this is super important. And I'm looking at you guys' streams. Everything looks pretty good. And we'll just do a few more, and then we'll start in on the real stuff. You know what? Scratch that. I want to do a little bit more. What we're going to do now is we're going to create this oval here, this this basic egg shape, and put that plus on there so it's kind of really going toward the side a little bit. Like you could go straight up, you know, in the front, do a straight front view, but make it so that it's turned like a 3/4 view. And then we're going to put another egg shape. It's going to be essentially the same. Watch this. I'll show you. I'll copy and rotate this. It's going to be basically exactly the same shape. Since this is angling back, it'll be a little bit foreshortened. And it's going to fill about 2/3 of that space. So, oops, oval, throw those lines in, or I could do that after if I wanted. And then another of that same kind of oval, just going back. And just make them hook together in this like almost like an L shape or an upside down L shape. And this is going to be the cranium in the back. So we've got the whole facial area in the front here, and then the cranium projecting back. And you don't necessarily have to draw in that whole oval. If you feel it helps you, you can. I usually just kind of throw that loop around the back like this and just kind of leave that part empty. And you can also vary the how much this extends backward. That's actually a big factor in the way different kinds of faces and heads look, is whether the skull really projects far back or whether it stays kind of closer and tends to spread out toward the sides more. So just a little more of that. Really focus on if this were a block, making this block go back like that. You know what I mean? So just a couple more. All right, and that ought to do for that. So now we'll go ahead and get into the actual details of how the head is drawn, at least the way I do it. So start with a pure front view, and this is going to be a little hard for me. Not that hard, but what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to turn on my grid so that I can make sure I'm keeping this straight, because I tend to actually be pretty bad about this if I'm doing a straight on view. And you know, classic trick, especially in digital art, is to just flip back and forth constantly. If you're working on paper, you can kind of like hold it up to a window or whatever, take a look at it backwards. But you know, looking at it backward helps you see the flaws. We get used to looking at it a certain way. Our eyes kind of get accustomed to it, so it's helpful to flip back and forth. So we'll start out with just that plus, and then we'll put that X. And then, so I'll show you how the head is basically split up. The first thing, right across the center, dividing it evenly into a top and bottom, is the eye line. And this is, you know, going to be our first stop. The eyes, the head is about 5 eyes wide, which means that I'll just go ahead and put in some simple basic eye shapes here. In fact, I'm going to put those on another layer so I can show you guys some stuff. So just some basic eye shapes there. They're going to be, well, they're not going to be halfway. Never mind that. All right. So the head itself, from one side to the other, is typically about 5 eyes wide. That means if I were to duplicate one of these eyes, and I'll change the color, we'll see that there's a space of about 1 eye in between the 2 eyes, and then there's a space of about 1 eye. I left this a little narrow. On either side of each eye, to the side of the head. So about 5 eyes wide. So that's the eyes. right above the eyes a little bit, we're going to have the eyebrows. How high the eyebrows go is a matter of, it depends on the face you're drawing. On women and children, the eyebrows tend to be a little bit higher. On men, they tend to be a little bit lower and closer to the eye. Um, it's really just going to depend on the character you're drawing. Um, and personally, I find that the inner corner of the eyebrow tends to come right up about to that X line. We're going to see a lot of places where this X is really useful. Okay, so from that eye line moving downward, if we go about halfway, um, we're going to find that halfway is kind of right between the nose and the mouth. So the nose we can put like right there, and it's kind of gonna get pretty close to those X lines right there. Um, and again, this is something that's going to vary depending on your the figure you're drawing. Um, but yeah, very often it'll come right close to those lines, and then the mouth will go a little bit below that halfway point, and that also will come pretty close to those X lines there. Um, we can go a little bit below that, put in a lower lip. If we're drawing in the lips, which we, typically in comics, obviously everybody has lips, but if we're drawing like a male figure and you really draw in the outline of the lips, it will probably tend to make them look a little more feminine than you want them to look, unless you're doing, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or something. Uh, you know, um, that's all up to you, but yeah. So in any case, you're usually going to want the lower lip, just like a little indicator there, or you can go ahead and draw in the full lips. And I'm not right now like going into the details of all of the features. I'm just giving you the overall structure of the head. Um, okay, so let's see. This is the basic arrangement of the features, and we'll go further than that into the more like kind of bone structure of the head very soon. Um, the hairline is going to vary tremendously from person to person, um, but it's going to start, somewhere between like half and 2/3 of the way up from that eye line. So we can just kind of put a hairline in there. It will maybe come to like the X line there, and then kind of come down along the side. The ears tend to go from the top of the ear is about at the height of the eyebrow, and the bottom of the ear is right about at the height of the nose. So the ears right there. And this is not a great looking face, to be honest, but we'll get the proportions and stuff. Um, so there's that. Now I'll go ahead and do a profile view. Let's see. Put in that oval. Bring this back. Now, if we're doing a straight profile view, we obviously don't need that plus exactly because the front is not showing. We're going straight from the side. So I'll just put a line straight through the middle here for the eye line. And then about like 2/3, 3/4 of the way back from the front, we're going to put this like kind of back of the jaw line and the ear. And the ear is going to kind of fit right in, typically kind of right where that back of the skull kind of comes under. And then this jawline will come down and come out to the front. And the jawline again is one of those things that's going to vary tremendously from character to character, from person to person. So sometimes I will kind of fake the X there. Put in the eye a little bit back from the front here. We don't want it to be too far back like this. We certainly don't want it to be way up at the front here. It's just going to be like a little distance back. And then we're going to have this is called the glabella. It's the part that turns down on the underside of the brow, like right above the nose, forehead there. Um, no, okay, let's go about halfway down from the eye, and that'll be that just between the nose and the mouth area. So there's the nose. Put the mouth right underneath that. Lower lip. Have a little chin sticking out. If you've done like a pure oval here, then you will be left with this like no chin here. So you really have to add on a chin. Sometimes I'll just kind of drop a line straight down, and so it's more like this instead of drawing that oval. But it's really up to you. But put that chin on. Um, the neck will go. You can kind of usually drop a line kind of straight down from the tip of the jaw there, from the corner of the jaw, and this will go. This is kind of where the neck will go to the pit of the neck, and that pretty much ought to cover it for just the basic placement of the features. I feel like that nose came out a little bit high. That's fine. So now I will go ahead and draw a few sort of regular faces, and I'll talk through the structural details of the head. So we'll start that. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to speak up at any time. But I'll go ahead and keep going. So do a little kind of looking up, 3/4 view. Put that back dome on, drop that ear into that space. Okay, so now I'm going to start breaking down the sort of bony structures of the head and the sort of basic planes. We know that the eyes would be in here, the nose here, the mouth here, but I'm not going to do that right now. What I'm going to do is show, starting from this eye line, basically there's this, it's like a shelf where the brow kind of overhangs, and then from this corner, kind of this forehead area kind of turns a corner right there toward the back toward the ear and like the side of the head. And again, this is one of those things where on some people it's going to be a sharp corner, like almost 90 degrees. And on other people, it's going to be much more rounded. And you'll barely even see a plane change, but there usually is like a little bony ridge there because there is a bone ridge on the skull, whether whatever the angles are. So there's that. We got this kind of overhang of the brow, and then here we've got the cheekbones, which essentially there's kind of a almost like a little cylinder that goes across. And then it drops down here for the jaw. And let's see. The mouth kind of protrudes out a little bit. And there's a plane. I don't know if this is really helpful in this one. I'll have to do another one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do another one because that's getting a little confusing. So sort of to the outside here, we've got this plane. We've got the forehead and the angle on the side of the head right there. Let me map out halfway down. I'll just go ahead and drop a line straight down so that we can find where the chin would be. I'll get rid of this line a little bit. Okay, so sort of build out that jaw a little bit. We'll go halfway down. We'll find the nose there and the mouth there. So now there's going to be a plane that tends to come down this way. The cheekbones are gonna extend out a little bit. And there's a lot of different kinds of cheekbones as well. Some really project out to the sides. Some are really kind of folded back flat against the side of the head. Um, but there will be a plane up here that comes right to the kind of top of the mouth, and the mouth will, have its structures there. Um, the lower lip will overhang. There will be a shadow there, more or less depending on the facial structure. Um, Chin below that, but this kind of let me do one more. Well, I'll probably do more than one more. Um, we can think of the head almost this part of the head. You can think as of like a almost like a tire or like a. I always think of it as like a cheese wheel because there's a little bit of roundedness to it. Um, and then there's this other sort of block structure of the cheekbones that extend across. And the nose is in here somewhere, but we don't really need to worry about that right this second. Um, Cheekbones, ear, jaw coming down. Let's see. So in here, I'll go back over to this one. This is kind of the brow area. In the middle here, we've got the glabella, that bit of the nose that turns down. The eyes are all going to be in here. And then the nose will extend out. Following this plane here, it's the I don't know if you call that the base of the nose or the root of the nose or what, but it's going to kind of follow this plane, turn up, typically up a little bit. Um, Again, that depends on the features. The face is obviously one of those areas where you're going to see just millions of different variations. Like people's faces and heads can vary so much. So everything we're learning here is all just averages, kind of just a basic form that you can then modify as you go forward. All right, let's see. From a profile, I'll go ahead and build that profile face. This little bit here, nose here, or mouth here. That means we're going to have this plane kind of coming down like this, cheekbones, um, brow ridge there, glabella, put the eye in there. The nose is going to sit on top of this plane. The corner of the nose, or the edge of the nose, is going to kind of run up to that inside corner of the eye. The mouth will project a little bit. And shadow under the lip. And there's the chin. All right, so the most important factors, let's see. I'm going to do one that doesn't really have any features. It's just going to be kind of the blocky sort of bone structure. I'll put the ear in. And I feel like this X here, this is a really nice way of aligning your stuff. When you don't have the X, it's, to me, I can feel kind of lost in space a little bit trying to line up these features. But this X to me gives a strong sense of form so that you can kind of project these things across and kind of, so like if I draw this eye here, I can just kind of go across and like feel the form that's created by that X and kind of feel where that eye is going to be on the other side. Hope that makes sense. So right outside the corner of the eye, we're going to have that brow ridge kind of coming up. We're going to have the cheekbones will usually flare out a little bit from that corner. And they're going to kind of run to this mouth area right there. The mouth conveniently often kind of sits right in between the lines of that X. Let's see, it looks like I have a, oh, okay, never mind. I thought I had a question. It's just somebody joining the channel. Okay. Yeah, so the mouth is going to kind of sit right in between that X, the chin in there. The chin is kind of a separate structure. The jaw is almost like an extended cylinder or like a wedge. Sometimes it'll have a really low angle there. Let's see. Let me put in some stuff so you guys can see what I'm doing here. So there's the eye, the brow ridge, cheekbones, and all that, jaw down here. I don't know. Hope that makes sense. And let's see. So here we've got these X lines coming down. We can see the jaw is a little bit above and behind it. So then we can kind of infer on this side that the jaw would be a little above and behind that. Maybe it would flare out enough for us to see. Maybe not. This line here is going to come back to that ear. The X above the eye line here will often help to define that glabella area, that turned down part above the top of the nose. And like I said, the eyebrows are often going to come right to the inside of that X. Put the nose in here. And the nose will often fill in that X area right there. Very convenient. I find it like I can hardly draw a face without this X anymore. I mean, I guess some of that is just I've been doing it for so long. I'll show you one more, and then we'll probably go ahead and jump into the photos. So eyes, eyebrows. Oh, this is actually an interesting point I want to bring up. Like, I feel like this the center point here where all of these lines cross, this stands for, to me, about like the area underneath the glabella where the nose starts to come forward, like that center point. Like if you poke yourself right between the eyes, that is this this confluence of all of these lines. The eyes themselves are actually going to be set a little more deeply into the head. For the most part, some people have much more deep set eyes. Some people's eyes are kind of right on the surface or almost like a little bit bulging. But most eyes are going to be set a little bit into the head. They're not right up there on the surface. So you're going to have to do a little bit of estimation to like, let's see if I can. So if this is the point, and if we were to kind of just have a line like this, the eyes would be right on the surface, like with no depth at all. But we know it's not really like that. What we would actually have is kind of moving inward toward the center of the head a little bit, and we would have a line there that we would kind of build the eyes on, so that they're sunken in. Now, I personally, I don't actually build this structure out really. I just kind of keep it in my mind that, all right, so the eyebrows are there, there's the glabella, there's the nose, and then the eyes are just going to kind of shift this way a little bit so that they can kind of sink into the head a little bit. And then another thing that is really helpful with this X is a lot of times on a lot of people, and it depends again on the type, but you're going to see a sort of a crease here on the inner sort of border of the cheekbones, and tends to run kind of right along the outside of these X lines. And like I use this all the time. We'll probably see it on some of the figures that we're studying. So let me just go ahead and finish this. Let's see, Lupin, that's some nice working stuff, or nice looking stuff, excuse me. And Ren and Mumu, you guys as usual, looking good. Kana, looking pretty good. Alrighty, so I'll just finish up this face real quick. Put this mouth over here. Let's see. So I guess right there is about the midpoint. Nose is going to be above there. Mouth there. A little bit of a lower lip. Put a chin in. Alrighty. So yeah, that ought to do it. Let's go ahead and get to the reference. Just got a bunch of faces here. And I'll just start drawing over these and talking about what I see. So let's not start with her yet. That mouth is going to throw us off. Okay. So let's see. With this guy, we'll put in that initial oval. And these may not fit exactly as the way I'm showing you. This is a stylized kind of cartooning comic style of drawing that I'm showing you guys. But it should be, it's definitely based on real anatomy. So we may have to make some adjustments to make it fit these actual figures, but it'll probably be close enough. So right in here, this is where I was talking about the kind of true center of this face. So we can see that the eyes sink back a little bit. We've got the eyebrows. I don't know if this is the right color to be using here. That might be a little better. All right, that's probably fine. The eyebrows tend to come to the inside of that, or to the X line there. Here we see the forehead like turning the corner to the side of the head. Let's see. Yep, there's that angle of the kind of front of the hair to the side of the hair that kind of comes right on that X line. Here's that front plane. Lower lip, a little bit of shadow, chin projecting forward. Here's that from that X, that kind of like inner, you can see a little bit of that inner cheekbone area. And then the nose. All right, let's see. I think I'm going to use a smaller pencil. All right. So the oval plus X, and yeah, as we can see, the nose is kind of fitting right into that X area. The nose is just, it's kind of like a box that sits on the front of the face like this, but it's also kind of, it's obviously got more shape than that. It's kind of more like this. I don't know. I might do, I probably will, maybe not right now, but I probably will do specific deep dives on all the features. But right now we're just kind of getting the overall structure of the head. So the nose here fitting right in between that X, like I told you guys. We got that glabella right here, kind of conveniently sitting on that X, the eyebrows kind of coming to that inside corner of that X. Here you can see the sort of inner corner of the eye socket. She's got this like shadow here. This is not right on that X line, but it kind of follows along it to the side. And then on the other side, it would be, because it's sunken in this way, it's much closer. Excuse me, much closer to that line. The lips, again, the mouth fitting kind of in between those lines of that X. And a lot of this is going to depend on how you draw your X. You can draw one. If I have a figure here, you can draw it. You could draw it narrow, or you could draw it, very, very wide. So it's all going to depend on that, like where your actual features line up exactly. Alrighty, let's see. And as always, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and let me know, and I will try to answer them. Otherwise, I will keep going. Let's see. All right, let's go with this guy. And this guy, I'll point out, he's got, we can pretty clearly see this, this plane, the kind of upward facing plane of the mouth, or not of the mouth, but of the kind of the top of the cheekbones, the front of the face. We can see we've got this this brow overhang. I always think of it as like a superhero mask, like Robin or whoever has. This line kind of carries back to the ears. We've got that shadow of the lower lip, the chin, jaw. On this guy, you can also, this guy's got a good bone structure that's like really easy to see. You can see how the jaw has just these planes, especially with this like bright lighting on the side. You can see how clearly that's separated. You can see his head, his cranium here is a little more rounded. You can kind of figure, usually like at the corner of the eyebrow where it turns. That's kind of where that corner of the forehead is. But on this guy, he doesn't have a sharp turn. It's more of a rounded turn. He's got more of a broad skull. And let's see, let's put that X in and see. Yep, okay. So as usual, the nose kind of fits right in there. The mouth, I feel like this guy has a little bit of a narrow mouth. So it doesn't really quite reach that X, but that's all good. The glabella fitting right there, the brows kind of coming right to that X. Alrighty, let's see. Let's try this guy. X. All right, and what am I seeing here? We got the eyebrows coming to the middle of that X. Here's that corner of the forehead. We got that superhero mask of the eyes kind of extending out to the sides. The cheekbone, the line of the cheekbones running down this way toward the mouth. Mouth in between that X. Got the lower lip, the corner, chin. Back of the cranium will be somewhere back here. The ear fits kind of into that space. Alrighty. Let's see this guy. Looks pretty intense. All right. One thing I want to point out, this is an issue for a lot of people who are beginners, is it's hard for them to really get their head around the fact that the eye line is right in the center of the head. Like if I, whoops, if I draw this line and then if I draw this line and then I move this line up here, we can see they're about the same. But beginners will almost always draw a head like this, and they'll put the eyes way up high. And I think that's because the hairline being lower um, does a lot to trick us. We feel like the eyes are higher up on the head, but the cranium extends far above the hairline. So we just got to remember that the eyes really are like halfway there. Let's see. Take a quick look at you guys' work. Looking good. Alrighty. Okay, so put that plus, put that X. This guy is a good example because he's really kind of turned to the side. A good example of how we can see the eyes sort of sunken in. Like he doesn't have unusually sunken eyes or anything, but just because of the angle, we can see we've got that that divot of the between the glabella and the bridge of the nose, um, right between the eyes, and we can see how on this side this eye is practically touching it, like visually, right? Whereas on this side, it's almost like a whole eye um, away from it, and that's because it's like well, it's just how do I well, like if there's two eyeballs, right, and if there was like a rod right in between them, it would be right in between. But if the rod was a little forward, it would be like right there. I don't know why I said a rod. Uh, I gotta be honest with you guys. I'm finding this a little more difficult to teach than the other materials so far. So I hope it's working out for you guys.
Nah, you're doing great so far.
All right, thank you, bud. Okay, let's see. Move on. A little more stuff here. We got those eyebrows touching that X. Just super convenient how that usually tends to work out. And we can see the corners of the eyebrow or of the forehead there. This guy has a little bit more of a angle than a lot of the people we've looked at so far. Um, Remember that when there's always like a little bit of mass and like bone to the outside of the eye never really touches like right on the outside. Some people it will, but usually there's some kind of mass over here before it like turns the corner of just like bony eye socket mass. Um, this guy's mouth we see pretty much lining up with that X. Um, he is kind of grimacing and like yeah, more of a grimace, I would say. So the corners of his mouth are pulled back, so they're subject to a little bit of the same like sunkenness of the eyes. So we see on this side it's extending further back than that X, and then on this side it's not like touching the X really. Um, yeah, chin sticking out, jaw back here. The corner of the jaw is often about at the level of the mouth, um, but that varies. Okay, let's see. Let's go to this lady here. So the oval of the head, she's looking up a little bit. We need to factor that in. Eye line, that plus, put that X. And this is one where maybe, yeah, okay, so look at this. I did a wider X first of all, and it wasn't really giving us those proportions, like her nose and mouth are much more narrow. But if I do this narrower X, now we're getting it to land kind of right on those features, like right on the corners of the mouth, right on the corners of the nose, right on the inside corners of the eyebrows. So how your proportions of that X, how wide versus how narrow it is, are going to have, if you use it as a guide to where you place your features, it's going to have an effect on how that face comes out, you know? Um, so anyway, okay, we got the right between the eyes point right there. Let's see. Just kind of trace out this plane on the front of the face. Got that little superhero mask of the eyes. Got that inside sort of eye socket area. Eyes fitting right in there. Corner of the forehead here. She doesn't have a sharp turn, but I feel like it's probably about like that. Lips, lower lip, a little bit of a shadow there. Chin projecting out. Corner of the jaw about at the level of the mouth. Remember to, we always got to remember to kind of follow the form and make sure we're kind of taking the three-dimensionality and the form into account. Let's see. All right, let's do this guy. He's got some interesting depth to his features here. So start with that oval. Yeah, we don't really see this stuff up here, but we know his brows would probably be about there, kind of touching that X. We can kind of put like a secondary line on the outside of this X that kind of comes from the corner of the eye, defines the sort of inside of the eye socket there. Eyes. Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to have to go deep on the features later on because there's a lot there. Let's see, one more time. Let's figure halfway. Yep. So it comes kind of right between the nose and the mouth. That shadow under the lower lip. Mouth kind of coming toward those X lines. We can see the cheekbone here really, and like the sort of sunkenness on the inside there as it turns to the outside there. Let's see. Let's do this one because we don't have a lot of yeah, that might be one of the only true profiles on here. So oval. I guess that line needs to go through the eye here. And we can kind of fake that X there. Eyebrow is gonna, let's see. There's that center point where all of these lines are going to converge, right? Kind of between the eyes. We can see how the eyes are like sunken behind it a little bit. Put that corner, that back of the jaw in there, about 2/3, 3/4 of the way back on the face. Top of the ear is going to be around the level of the eyebrows. Bottom of the ear, kind of the level of the nose. Let's see. You can kind of see, no, this is a front lit, so we're not going to see a great example of that top plane here, but yeah. Let's see. All right. Let's do one more, and then I'll finish up just drawing a few faces, and I'll just kind of tell you guys some of my tricks and like the way I like to think about the features and stuff. Hopefully this is enough structural knowledge. Those of you that are drawing, you guys are doing a great job. I feel like you know you're gonna do okay with this stuff. So I'll just try to give you a little bit of my thoughts and the lines I like to use. All right, so let those lines all kind of converge at that between the eyes point. We see once again we've got the nose and the mouth just about fitting in between that X. Of this mouth, though, you can really see how it isn't just like flat across. It protrudes forward in the middle. The mouth is, it's almost like a, you know, like a Homer Simpson mouth, kind of. It's like a protruding semicircle. Um, like, like if the cheekbones are this kind of cylinder that comes across, and then there's this kind of hollow of the brow. The the jaw might be kind of a blocky structure, or like a sort of like a cylinder. The mouth itself is almost going to be like a mound coming out right there, like a part of a ball sort of sticking out, like if you were to cut a tennis ball and then squeeze it so that you know it would like open like this. That's kind of what the mouth, how the mouth sits on the face. So that's tricky. Uh, yeah, the more I do, the more I go through this stuff, the more I think I'm going to have to do the features individually. But that might be down the road because I feel like we're going to need to get into some other stuff. We definitely need to cover perspective coming up soon. All right, so the mouth, uh, lower lip shadow. Here again, we can really see how the eye is sunken down. Um, this one is actually sinking behind the nose, whereas this one is kind of way back to the side here. Um, we can see a little bit of that crease that you see sometimes from the inner eye socket and like the cheekbone. Um, Here we got that robin mask. Um, and then the nose just kind of sits on top of all of that. Side of the head here, side of the cheek, uh, side of the like cheekbones. And this guy's got a really like prominent angle of the jaw here that actually, to me, sits a little lower than most people. So we see kind of like an underside here. All right. And yeah, that's probably plenty. I don't think we need to do all of these. I'm going to finish up with a few faces. I'm going to try to take my time a little bit because when I'm drawing this, doing this stuff, I tend to rush a little bit and make it ugly. So let's see. I guess I tend to put that back of the jaw angle in like early on. Build the back of that skull there. Um, and let's see. Ghost in some eyebrows there. Start to build our forehead, ear. I'll show you guys in a moment. I'll show you guys my little like ear algorithm. Um, Ears are tough, and you know, most people aren't going to care if you really get them exactly right. This is cartooning after all. Um, so I'll show you my little cheat. Uh, okay, so we got this cheekbone area kind of all coming toward the mouth here. The nose in there somewhere. There's the jaw or the chin protruding forward. We'll bring that back to the jaw. Um, the mouth, let's see. I'm just going to kind of ghost in a little bit of shape to kind of, you know, like I said, it's a little bit of like a edge of a ball protruding forward on the you know, the front of the face there. The there's a name for it. I'm trying to remember. Um, well, anyway. Okay, so lips, lower lip kind of curving in. We're going to have that little bit of a bulge around the outside there. Um, Start to put the nose in here. And this stuff here, this is where all that S curve, C curve stuff comes in handy because to be honest, like what I'm doing is just like I'm using my understanding of where this stuff goes and sort of the architecture I've built here, and then I'm just being like, boom, S curve, C curve, another C curve, right? That's like pretty much always how it goes when I draw a nose. Um, for instance, is just kind of little S curve, little C curve for the nostril, little C curve going the other way for the nostril. In fact, all of these, like this, that's actually a double, like an S curve that curves again to like a little C curve at the end. Um, all right, put that inside corner of the nose there. The eye is gonna kind of touch that, and then I talked about that line parallel to the X line there that defines this inner like eye socket kind of cheekbone kind of thing. Um, and then we have the other eye that's going to be sunken in. I can estimate just for visual purposes. I'll draw a line here and then I'll like move it over here and then I'll like move it over there again to kind of estimate where the line would be, where the eye would be. Although we do have some perspective going on, just kind of casual perspective. We don't need to measure stuff out, but we know that as stuff gets further away, it's going to get a little bit smaller. Um, so there's that eye. Let me get rid of these. And then you put in the irises. I'm not really going to deal too much with how those work right now. That'll be for the features when we cover the eyes. And much like we have it kind of extending this way, here. On this side, we're going to have it little brow overhang this way, and then the cheekbone again on this side. Not everybody's going to look like this. You know, there's going to be a million different kind of configurations for like how much your cheekbones stick out, how much your brow ridge sticks out, etc. I personally feel that most cartoonists and comic book artists, their basic face tends to look a little bit like them, because I think people spend so much time studying themselves when they're drawing. And, you know, we know our face better than any other face from looking in the mirror our whole lives. So I feel like I tend to put like a cheekbone and brow ridge like that looks a lot like mine. But there's a million different ways that can go. All right, we're getting pretty late here. Let me just do like one more, maybe talk through a few more things. Alrighty, so here I think what I'm going to start is just to really kind of get the whole outline of the face of the head. And put those eyebrows in. There's that edge. Let's see. Nose. Eye. I feel like that nose got a little bit low. Mouth. And this again, we're seeing the sort of almost spherical, semi-spherical nature of the mouth, where we've got these corners that kind of wrap around the sides of the face, but the middle area of the mouth kind of protrudes forward. That's tricky. Yeah, I guess I'll talk about that later. Cheekbone. Put that hairline in there somewhere. And like I said, it tends to turn right around on that line of the X. And then I said I'd show you guys my, my trick for the ear. So here's how it is. I'm going to need to draw another one because that angle is not so good for me to just do it if I have to think about it. So if we start with kind of a basic, this is like the back of the jaw kind of area, whatever. My ear tends to go like almost like most of a box. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or you can like let it be a little curve. So it's something like that. It's like a stylized sort of 3 corners of a box with either another little 3 corners of a box or just kind of a little curve. And then we're going to go inside there. We're going to start here, kind of come around like this. And then we're going to have this little shape that just goes like that. It's like a 3 with a little extra leg on it that curves back on the inside. We can fill that in with a little dark, and then we can also put a little notch right there. And that's a little bonus for you. Just a little quick cheat for drawing an ear. Here's that little, I forget what that's called, the tragus or something, a little bit that sticks out in the front. So anyway, guys, that'll be it. Hope you all found it helpful. Man, it still comes out looking goony when I have to think about it. Anyway, that one's not too bad. All right, so that'll be the head. Next week we'll talk about the hands, followed by the feet, and then we'll see where we go from there. I think we'll probably go into perspective after that. We'll come back and do a deep dive on the features later on. So thank you all for coming. Hope that was helpful. and I'll see you guys next week. Okay, guys, I almost forgot. Homework. Just give me 10 heads. They don't have to be beautiful. Um, just show me what you've learned. Show me the basic structure, uh, and do your best. Um, so yeah, that'll be it. Just 10 heads. Put them in the Discord channel as usual, and and that's that. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, and I'll catch you next time.